Hi, welcome to the first Fireside Chat at ConvinceMeAudio. During today's topic, we're going to explore the question, what is high-end audio? Should you invest in high-end audio? What can be gained by high-end audio? And is it necessary? Let's talk. To bring some context to the conversation, I will take a stroll through the past in regards to my own life and how I was introduced to high-end audio. As you can imagine, as a very small child, most of us don't care about such things. Losing my sight at a very young age and knowing that within a few years it was going to go pretty much all the way, I honestly don't believe it impacted me as much as it would have done if I was an adult. Children's brain is highly malleable. We adapt to our environments extremely quickly and we're very resilient as children. If you've only been given one path, you will do your absolute best to make that your primary goal. That being the start to the whole audio perception and audio journey for me. I attended a specialist school. Now in this school, then later on in college and then university, due to the topics I chose to study, audio was a very large part of the curriculum. And to be open to and introduced to high-end audio at such a young age, you really don't look back. Music theory, live sound, musicians, instruments were all part of a daily life for us. Being fortunate enough to be surrounded by superb musicians at such an age, even though the interest was not there, subconsciously, these aspects of instruments and music tend to sink in without us realizing that later on in our life we will actually tap into and realize there is a purpose and we have a use for it. Studying piano, violin, and other instruments during school days, finding that I absolutely loved music, but what was inside my head could not be physically brought to life, I set the music aside. The politest way of putting it is, you're bloody awful at music, the door's that way, please find your way out. Leaving playing music behind, I delved into music listening and obsessive music listening. I like to explore every genre of music there is. I like to explore foreign music and I like to explore the variety of ways music is mixed and mastered and basically at its source. And go back to its source and see how it's introduced to us and how we can actually bring that music to life on our equipment. Touching on the past, this did lead some credence into how timbre and the real sound of instruments in our real environment should sound, and reproducing that at home or in a home environment was very crucial to me. So this hobby became a very big interest of mine, starting with the Genelec speakers all the way back in 2003. At heart, I am a speaker guy, but for convenience sake, obviously, delving into IEMs and headphones and then upgrading the rest of the chain was very crucial to me. So I've spent the last 20 years in this hobby, going from manufacturer to manufacturer, finding the thing that we are all looking for. And here is the first hurdle. Most of us don't know what that hurdle is, don't know what that thing is. My personal journey came to an end with the Hi-Fiman Zeospantera itself. Those were the end of the road for me, and the review for that was actually what started this whole channel in the first place. From that point to where we are now, 7 months later, and despite the increasing size of the channel and all of the headphones we have reviewed because of this reason, my personal journey is still very much at an end. For over-ear headphones anyway. For speakers, for IEMs, I don't think so. I think this journey has only just begun. But for a high-end system like over here, the AHB2, the Zeospanteras and the Hollow Audio ladder DACs brings to life an experience that is close to none unless you're playing live music or you're attending a live show or you're yourself at a live show performing. So, swinging back round to the question, what is high-end audio? High-end audio is the best reproduction of the song that was recorded in the studio to basically come into your living room. We are trying to get as accurate representation as we can from the live sound we attend, the concerts we attend in our living room. And blimey, we are getting there. The feel of the audience, everybody's soul seems to connect during a live show. That aspect is still very much singular when you listen to headphones. You might be able to reproduce this energy, this vibe, when there is a bunch of you at a party, the system sounds great, the song is exceptional, and all of you are connected. That's how an audiophile basically classify it. But what about a general consumer? To answer the second part, what is high-end audio? It's basically a transport of the audio you hear maybe on the radio or on the earbuds that have been provided with your phone or player, and taking it to the next level. More refined, a higher quality, a cleaner sound, a more pristine studio-esque performance. Now, this does not only apply to the equipment itself, such as your headphones, your IEMs, or the speakers, but it can also pervade the amplifier, the digital to audio converter, a DAC, the cables, the type of clean power used, and the insanity begins. Let's tackle the second question. Is high-end audio worth it? This word worth it gets thrown around a lot. Worth is very subjective, not only financially, but in regards to the person's interests and intrigue. Because audio is not the only hobby out there. There are many aspects of life that people take it to the next level, which basically means they're hobbyists. And in this case, it's audio for us. But is it necessary? For me personally, yes. I think it's not only a very large part of my life, but it's something I cannot do without. I cannot be without music. I wake up to music. I listen to music while I'm working, while I'm cooking, while I'm cleaning, while I'm living my life, and I listen to music while going to sleep. It has affected 20 hours of my life a day, minimum. In fact, more than once I've been told, Koji, you seem to have a backing track to your life. Is the music ever off? And my answer is no. I can't live without it. Because not only does it change mood, change perception, encourages thought, puts you in a better place, but it also has the power to bring people together. Common interests of songs. Unlike other hobbies, most people, if not all people, enjoy music. It doesn't matter what background you are, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what language you speak. When music is playing and the song is good, there is an electrical energy that passes through you to them, and everybody feels the same thing you do. It's something that brings us together, and it goes back thousands of years. This is not a new thing. Music has brought us together as a community and as a race. It surpasses language barrier. It surpasses the questions and the trials that we go through in our lives, politics and everything else. It goes beyond all of these, and it brings us back down to earth. But how you listen to this is only as important to the individual person as they're willing to put effort in it. In my experience, the general consumer, a very lack of a better term, not apt description of the people who are not interested in high-end audio, find just as much enjoyment from an Amazon Echo Dot just because the song is playing as we do from a Sesvara, Diana, Mad 24 or any other of the absolute extreme high-end spectrum of headphones, speakers, amplifiers, IEMs, etc. So there is a DNA that connects us to the person who is not interested in high-end audio, which basically is the song. The song brings us all together. The next question we should ask ourselves is, should we enter this hobby? And how should we enter this hobby? Should we enter this hobby is a very, very simple and straightforward one. It basically comes down to you. Do you want to experience that violin in the best method possible? Do you care enough to hear every nuance of the string, the bow, so that when you close your eyes, it's as if you can see it? Or are you satisfied with just hearing the violin over there and it brings you the same joy? That defines the two categories of people, I think. It's the fact if they care enough to hear best version of that song, as close to live sound as possible, and are they willing to put the money into it and the effort into it to achieve that, because it's a journey. It just can't be achieved just like that. It's impossible. Or you just don't care at all. Because for you, it's about the experience. It's about the song, and as long as you've got people around you or you yourself have got access to that thing that makes that noise, you are completely happy. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. It could be coming from your phone or your iPad. You get just as much experience out of it as we do. But we are in the insanity end of the spectrum, where we want to achieve that nirvana, that live sound at home, the best reproduction that can be made. And that brings us to the second part of the question. How do we enter this hobby? You enter this hobby quite simply by getting a slightly better export system to what you've been used to. Because if you're asking that question, you're right at the beginning of your journey, which basically means you have plugged your headphones into your phone and it's basically what's been provided to you because you've not really searched out for that thing. I will make a more in-depth video in regards to this topic of how to truly start this journey and where from, so that you're not frivolously throwing money away. But to give you a vague idea, you buy a better headphone. You step away from the manufacturers that provide to the general community. You look on the niche and you don't start at the top. You start at the absolute low end, between £30 and £100, because some absolute magic could be had here, such as the KSC75, which costs £17.5, and they perform like £200 headphones from a general consumer perspective, or the KPH30i with the Grado mods at around £45, which basically perform absolutely insanely. They might not look as shiny and as eye-grabbing as the general consumer stuff at this price point, but they deliver what you've been looking for, a better sonic performance than what you've been hearing and you've been hoping to step away from. Also, you step away from your phone and your laptop and you might invest in an amplifier and DAC combo, which basically takes what's inside the iPad and the iPhone or whatever phone you're using and refines it. It's basically taking it out of that environment and building a better version of it to give you a better version of the song. And it can be quite cheap. You can probably get one of these for no less than $100. You don't need to go to the extreme ends of the spectrum when you start your journey. It's a good place to start. And a good place to start is always at the beginning. There is one final segment to this Fire Chat I would like to cover, but not in depth. We're going to come back to it. And that is being wary of high-end audio, not just high-end audio, anything that gives you a rush. Because if you're not experienced and you've not taken the time, the song has not been the journey for you first. I don't want this to come across preachy, but from somebody who has made a lot of mistakes in regard to this end of the spectrum in the beginning of their journey, I can prevent you from bumping into those bumps in the road as I did. My journey to audio was very, very slow, but in our communities, I have seen a trend which is very dangerous. And that is chasing high-end audio equipment for the sake of the equipment. For the thrill that it brings in buying something new. For the thrill that it brings for hearing something you didn't hear before. And it becomes addictive. You find that $1,000 headphone is so good, but you want to hear the next $1,000 headphone. You don't take time to explore your entire library. You don't live with it. So you buy the next one, and the next one. And then you buy something more expensive, and more expensive, and more expensive, and then you find you're not really listening to music. You're listening to equipment and what it can do, and then you want to hear the next piece of gear. And let me advise you on this. There is far more equipment out there than you have money for. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter what hobby you're into. You have got to be careful. You have got to see the red flags, and you have got to see the signs that you are becoming an obsessive, and you need to actually tame it back a bit and walk away. I speak from experience. I speak from my mistakes, especially when you're just left university and college, especially at those times. When you're secure in your financial placement, I don't think it matters as much. I don't think so. When you're not jeopardizing bills and things, I don't think it matters as much. So our job as reviewers is to prevent you from making these pitfalls, to target the right equipment for you so that you don't need to try 20 different headphones because you can't access them to audition them, so that you can buy the one headphone or the two headphones that are really, really tailored to you. There are so many of us reviewers out there, and you will find your audience, and you will find the people that connect with you and like the same sounds as you do. It's so subjective that that's why this conversation never dies. Because if we all heard the same thing the same way, somebody would go, yeah, that's a snare drum. Nah, that's good. And it'd be good emphatically. It would be good definitely. But no, our perception of sound is so unique to ourselves that we discuss the fact of that snare drum is either got bad timbre, or it's not tuned correctly, or the resonances are not correct. That's why it makes this hobby so interesting. But there are pitfalls to be wary of. But the journey is amazing. The rewards are exceptional, and the audience is wonderful. We have built some great communities. Thank you for joining our Telegram chats over at ConvinceMeAudio and the Audio Lounge chat for the public. The conversation is great there. We have met some wonderful people. And I would like to give a big thank you to our Patreon members for keeping the chat alive, for allowing day-to-day life to run smoothly for ConvinceMeAudio. Your support is greatly appreciated. I hope you stay safe. I will see you in the next Fireside Chat. I'm Koji CEO. Peace.